What is up, guys? It's the Sound Alchemist, and today I'm back to talk to you about Warhammer 40K. Now, depending on when this video comes out, it's either going to be yesterday or today that the Warhammer community folks have graced us with some interesting information that's going to be found within the pages of the new codices for the Necrons as well as the Space Marines. So let's start with the Xenos, because Space Marines, they get to go first way too often. So let's check out the Necrons' new rules, as well as a look into the units that can be found within Codex Necrons. So the first thing they tell us is that there's going to be dynastic codes, aka chapter tactics, traits, whatever you want to call them, for 6 Necron empires, including the new Zeracon, which has those crab-like destroyers and basically all the new stuff we saw in the Indominus, as well as they're going to have options to create your own dynasty. That is what I'm most concerned about, to see what awesome combinations of traits you can give your Necrons to give them their own flavor, their own feel, and just to see how overpowered they can get. But unfortunately, GW sure does love to tease us. I think they got a little bit of Slanesh going on, because that's going to come out tomorrow. So for today, let's go ahead and look at one of the things that everybody was eagerly waiting to see how it changed, how it stayed the same, and that is the Reanimation Protocols. So strap in, fellas, because this is quite a wall of text. So let's begin. So it says that each time an enemy unit shoots or fights, after it makes its attacks, if any models in this unit were destroyed as a result of those attacks by that unit which was not destroyed, then this unit's reanimation protocols are enacted and those destroyed models will begin to reassemble. So right off the bat, this happens after every fight that let's say I'm the Necron player. After my opponent goes, makes all its attacks, all its wound rolls, all the damage, then if anything died, then I start to roll reanimation. And how that works is that each time a reanimation protocol is enacted, you have to make reanimation protocol rolls for that unit, rolling a number of d6s equal to the combined wounds of all the reassembling models. Each reanimation protocol roll of a 5-up is put into a pool. A reanimation protocol can never be modified by more than a +1 or a -1. So again, what this means is that, let's say 3 of my warriors died. So now I roll 3 d6s, and then a 5-up, that gets to reanimate my character. However, there are certain traits, certain relics, that can give you a +1 or negative modifiers to your roll. So potentially you could be rolling a 6-up or a 4-up to try to get your Necron warrior or any other Necron that has reanimation protocols to reanimate. Now this next part is the kicker, because it says if the number of dice in that pool is greater than or equal to the result to the wound characteristics of any of the reassembling models, then you get to select one of those models to be reanimated. A reanimated model is then added back to its unit with full wounds remaining. Now there are little sub-points. This can only be set up with an engagement range of an enemy unit that are already within engagement range of the reanimated model's unit. You cannot, if it's your charge phase, set it up closer to any enemy units that are targets of a charge declared by the unit during this phase, and these no longer count as having been destroyed for the purposes of morale during this turn. So this is easy if you have 1 wound models. Basically, for every successful roll, you get back a Necron warrior. Where it starts to get a little tricky is during like 3 wound models. So let's say those crab-like models from the Necrons with like the scythe arms, I always forget what they're called. They're like destroyers or whatever. But those have 3 wounds. So let's say I roll reanimation and I only roll 2 out of the 3 wounds remaining. That does not mean that it gets back 2 wounds, because you have to have equal to or more positive rolls of your reanimation protocols to bring that model back. So it's an all or nothing thing if I'm reading this correctly. Um, so in order to bring back a 3 wound model that has been slain, you have to roll at least 3 5-ups, if there's no modifiers, on your reanimation protocols to bring it back up to full wounds. So they can't come back with just 1 wound, they can't come back with 2 wounds, it has to be an all or nothing thing for reanimation protocols, which I think this is where the balance comes in, since this tends to happen not at the command phase or at the end of the turn. This happens literally as soon as the enemy has finished their attacks, their damage, their wounds, all that stuff. So, I don't know, it seems a little too good, but at the same time they're trying to like scale it back. I don't know. We have a Necron player in our play group, and our buddy. He plays Necrons, and he's been playing Necrons since 5th edition. So he knows the ins and outs of Reanimation Protocol. He knows how to synergize, how to make it worthy, how to make it worth it. So I'm gonna have to talk to him and see what he thinks about these changes. So yeah, I mean, what do you guys think? Let me know down below. So essentially, what does this mean for people playing against the Necrons? It means that if you want to stop your opponent from reanimating, you have to wipe them all out in a single volley, because they're just going to keep coming. Like, target priority is key when you're playing against the Necrons. You can't just shoot at their entire army. You literally have to pinpoint, this is the main threat, I need to take this down, and just fire everything at that unit until it's dead. Because if not, they could quickly come right back and be at full strength in no time. So it's something to be very cautious and something to be thinking about whenever you have a Necron player as your opponent. Continuing on with the article, they say that they have some pretty interesting stuff going on for Necron Overlords, and that is command protocols. So you do this before a game starts, and you secretly assign 1 out of the 6 protocols to each of your 5 battle rounds. And then when you get into that battle round, you then choose from one of the 2 directives associated with that protocol to enact for any unit within 6 inches of your Overlord. So pretty much what it means is you get to pick and choose auras for your Overlord to give to your nearby Necron units. However, you got to be strategic about it, because there's 6 things you can choose, and within those 6 things, there's 2 subcategories that allow you to kind of twist the way that the game is played. Overall, I'm really liking it. One of these protocols is called the Protocol of the Sudden Storm. And the options between there, the first one is called Directive 1, which you can add an inch to the movement characteristics of models in this unit. Directive 2 is if this unit is performing an action, it can still make attacks with ranged weapons without that action failing, which is huge because obviously if you're playing 9th edition, there are certain secondaries that allow you to take actions, such as taking an objective or using a psychic test. Well, I guess it wouldn't count for Necrons because they don't have psychers, but still, if you're taking an objective and you're using an action, you can't do anything else. But this would allow you to still make ranged weapon attacks, so these things can really come in clutch, maybe even turn the tide of the game in your favor. Then we move on to the new characters that we've seen showcased from previous Warhammer community articles. We have the Gunslinger with the 6th gun. I believe it's a Hexmark Destroyer, similar to Deathmarks, but more gunny. So this dude can make 6 attacks with his Enmitic Disintegrator Pistol. So it's a range 18, pistol 1, strength 6, AP -1, 1 damage. But multiply that by 6. So 6 strength 6 shots, that's kind of nasty. I mean, yeah, it's only AP -1 and it's only dealing 1 damage, but the kicker is that anytime it takes out an enemy model, you get to fire once more again because it has the multi-threat eliminator ability, which means that each time an enemy model is destroyed by a ranged attack by this model's Enmitic Disintegrator Pistols, after this model has made all the rest of its attacks, it can then shoot with one of the Disintegrator Pistols in additional time. Of course, these attacks don't further generate more attacks because that would be crazy. We've seen what that can do with the what was it, like the blood talons on the Blood Angel dreadnoughts. Those were nasty. You could take out like a whole horde of orcs with those, and GW has learned. So that's pretty cool. Moving on, we got some new stuff for the iconic monoliths. For the longest time, monoliths were overpriced and they just weren't worth it, really. But now we get to see that they got some pretty interesting changes to their weapons. They got a Death Ray, Gauss Flux Arc, the Particle Whips, and the Portal of Exile. I'm not going to go too in depth with it. Again, the links are down in the description so you can go ahead and read all this information for yourself. But I do want to read the Portal of Exile because that's probably the most badass thing that the monoliths have. So it's a melee range, melee type, with the strength being that of the user. AP is -3, damage is 3, and this is the kicker. Each time an attack is made with this weapon, that attack automatically hits. So bring this bad Mamma in close combat to do auto hits, dealing 3 damage each. That's crazy. This is going to be a beast in combat, but I mean, Particle Whips, they're strength 12, so let's not, let's not officially name the monolith a monster in combat, because it's pretty good at range too. And finally, I was going to save the best for last, but no. The Void Dragon gets his own video, because they unveiled the stat line for the Void Dragon, as well as the weapons, and oh my god, it is so awesome. I love the model, for one, and like I've just loved the lore of the Void Dragon since I ever read it. So he's getting a whole video to himself. So we'll save that one for later. But for now, guys, what do you think about the Necron stuff that they showcased that's coming out in the Codex? Are you excited? Are you like, meh? Yeah, we'll get more news tomorrow since they are going to unveil the traits for each dynasty. So it'd be interesting again to see how that's going to change and what the custom dynasty abilities will be. So yeah. Let me know your thoughts below, and again, links are down in the description so you can check out the article over on Warhammer Community. This has been the Sound Alchemist, part of One Mind Syndicate, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next one. Peace.